put before us with his legal view that feels will help us resolve this issue. I, for one, have no intention of sitting here and second guess at this point in time our legal counsel. I think he's put together a good ordinance. It takes care of those people that will be identified as potentially being legally non-conforming, which at this point looks like it could be give or take for sure probably less than 10 beyond a doubt, but more than likely closer to 4. And it's just kind of time to move on.
I won't belabor this anymore. What I'm saying is I agree with this ordinance, but it will just eliminate this issue of the weekly rental. There won't be any more in R1, 2, and 3. There won't be, especially R1, I think is where our focus is, correct, Beverly? Yes. Okay. So to not belabor it anymore, I'll probably vote to pass this on the first reading.
Okay. Any further? Ms. Schneider?
It was said somewhere that, a lot of people want to stay in the downtown historic Victorian area to get a feel for the city, or, for that age and that type of life. Staying at the places that you named have nothing to do with the old Victorian era, of which we are trying to save and permit. If you take away weeklies from all 3 residential zones, people who are staying a week, or like my friend coming in to try to find a place and she wants to be able to feel the life as she's looking, won't have that option.
You're not eliminating them in R2 and R3. If you will look at paragraph 2. Paragraph 2 says that this ordinance shall not amend the conditional use permitted in R1, R2, and R3.
Weeklies aren't a CUP.
They are in R2.
Tourist lodging.
No. A weekly is not, we have not yet determined if a weekly is a tourist lodging. That was one of the things we were supposed to be working on. My son is not a tourist.
Point of order.
State your point of order.
It's not germane to the topic, the motion on the table.
Any other conversation that's pertinent to the discussion here?
Mine's the original.
If you'll read we have a motion on the table in a second.
This is the one
Ladies.
No, it isn't. Yes, it is.
Mr. DeVito made a motion to assign a number and place the ordinance on its first reading. Mr. Mitchell seconded.
Okay. This doesn't have to be a roll call vote.
It's not.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Emphatically no.
Okay. 5-1.
Changes are made.
Correct. 5-1. Thank you. The new ordinance number will be 2184. An ordinance prohibiting weekly rentals of property located within any residential zone. Whereas the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas has reviewed weekly rentals and other short-term rentals within the residential zones R1, R2, R3, and whereas it has been determined that it is in the best interest of the city to maintain as stable and consistent a population within these zones as is possible, and whereas limiting short-term rentals will help assist in maintaining stability and consistency of population in residential areas. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, Section 1, that henceforth it shall be a misdemeanor to rent property as a dwelling within any residential zone within the City of Eureka Springs, punishable by a fine of up to $500 per violation for a period of 31 days or less. Each day of any rental of 31 days or less shall be considered a separate offense. Section 2, that this ordinance shall not amend the conditional uses permitted in R1, R2, and R3. Section 3, legally non-conforming uses existing the effective date of this ordinance, all legally operating rental businesses renting dwellings in R1, R2, or R3 for 31 or less days as of the effective date shall be considered as legally non-conforming uses in accordance with the Eureka Springs Municipal Code. Those businesses are listed in Appendix, I'm going to say X because there's another Appendix A. So I could get another letter. Attached to this ordinance. No additions may be made to this list after the effective date of this ordinance. They are required to continually operate in accordance with all applicable codes of the city and shall be limited to only the use which has been in operation since before the effective date of this ordinance. Continual operation shall be defined for purposes of this ordinance as being open and in business, showing revenue, and paying all appropriate fees and taxes with no lapse of operation of greater than 180 consecutive days. No expansion of the structure or use shall be allowed for any legally non-conforming use under this ordinance. Any issuance of any building permit for repair, remodeling, or upkeep for any legally non-conforming property under this ordinance with an estimated value of more than 1/4 of the total property value shall terminate the legally non-conforming status of the property. That the legally non-conforming property status under this ordinance shall terminate upon any transferal of ownership of the subject property, be that transferred by sale, gift, inheritance, or other operation of law. Section 4, severability clause. In the event that any section, subsection, paragraph, subdivision, clause, phrase, or other provision or portion of this ordinance shall be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional, the same shall not affect the validity of this ordinance, code section, or chapter as a whole, or any part or provision other than the part so decided to be invalid or unconstitutional, and the remaining provisions of this ordinance, code section, or chapter shall remain in effect. Section 5, repeal clause. All ordinances, resolutions, and parts thereof in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict.
Mr. DeVito.
Move to approve ordinance number 2184 on its first reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Emphatically no.
Mr. McClung.
I just would like to encourage the Planning Commission to please try to address this as quick as possible, because I really would like to see that list before the third reading so we can be done and not have to revisit this and drag it on. We got to put things behind us. That's all.
Mr. Weaver.
I would suggest that Mr. McClung's suggestion there be made a little more forceful by this table directing them to take immediate action. Motion.
I make a motion that the Planning Commission be directed to take immediate action on this and preparing that list X to be attached to this.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on. Moves us to number 5, the second read of ordinance 2183. Motion to discuss.
So moved.
Second.
Floor is open. Mr. DeVito.
Move to suspend the rules and place ordinance number 2183 on its second reading by title only. Is there a second?
Oh, I'm sorry, second.
Okay. This doesn't have to be since it's suspension, it's got to be a roll call. Okay.
Mr. Mitchell.
No.
Ms. Zeller.
Yes.
Ms. Schneider.
Yes.
Mr. DeVito.
Yes.
Mr. Purkeypile.
Yes.
Mr. McClung.
Yes.
5-1. Ordinance 2183, an ordinance to rezone property from R1 Victorian Residential to C1 Victorian Commercial.
Mr. DeVito.
Move to approve ordinance number 2183 on its second reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
5-1.
5-1.
Yes. What I got. Okay. There's also number 6, be discussion of commercial recycling glass cardboard. Mr. DeVito.
Move to postpone this to the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Postpone to the next meeting. Moves on to number 7, discussion removal of 80 Mountain Street from list of buildings R1 religious purposes.
I move to postpone this based on input from planning chair.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Did you get a good count on that?
She said they have discussed.
I heard it as all ayes.
Okay.
C.
6-0.
Moves us to number 8, permitted uses in C3. Motion to discuss.
I move that we postpone this based on input from the planning chair.
Do a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Moves us to number 9, ordinance to remove all front corner setbacks. Motion to discuss.
So moved.
Second.
Floor is open. Mr. DeVito.
Move to assign this ordinance a number and place it on its first reading.
Second.
I'm sorry. I was reading.
I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.
6-0.
Yes. 185.
Yes. The ordinance number will be 2185. Ordinance removing front corner setback requirements in certain zoning districts. Whereas the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas has reviewed the current code sections of the Eureka Springs Municipal Code dealing with front corner setbacks, and whereas the Planning Commission has recommended revisions thereto, and whereas it has been determined that it is in the best interest of the city to amend the code, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, Section 1, that all front corner setback requirements for the C2 Contemporary Commercial Zone, C2C Contemporary Commercial outside of the defined Historic District Zone, I Industrial Zone, and A Agricultural Zone are hereby removed. Section 2, Severability Clause. In the event that any section, subsection, paragraph, subdivision, clause, phrase, or other provision or portion of this ordinance shall be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional, the same shall not affect the validity of this ordinance, code section, or chapter as a whole, or any part or provision other than the part so decided to be invalid or unconstitutional, and the remaining provision of this ordinance, code section, or chapter shall remain in effect. Section 3, Repeal Clause. All ordinances, resolutions, and parts thereof in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict.
Mr. DeVito.
Move to approve ordinance number 2185 on its first reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. It sounded like a 6-0.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. McClung.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment this week, because we didn't get an opportunity to discuss any of it just this time around. I think we need to look at this too, in that it says on the setbacks for not C1, because I'm not concerned with it because it's 0. But for C2 and the C2C, C3, it says same as average setback of neighborhood, and I can see how that could be okay in C3, but in C2 and the C2C, and even the C2C, I'm not so sure about. But C2 the industrial, that it says what's same as average setback is neighborhood within, and this law was construed a long time ago as that front being a 35-foot setback, and it doesn't say that. All it says is whatever it's consistent with the neighborhood, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think you need that 35-foot setback along the highway that it had been interpreted to mean previously. So you do have some space for green belts and such, and which is how it was originally intended to be, and somehow it's gotten lost. I don't know how in the interpretation and things going now through there, but it's 35-foot front setback is what had always been, and maybe that's in new development. Maybe that's where that is. I don't know. I'm not sure hadn't looked that up specifically, but in anything in new construction, at least C2, I think we need to look at that and maybe get a little more specific along those lines. And so there again, I might ask the planning commission to look into that before we do our next reading and approval.
Ms. Schneider?
For the C2,
Point of order. We have passed this on its first reading. We have 2 more readings. It would be appropriate at those subsequent readings that we get into the detail of discussion about this. So we have plenty of time to address it.
or can I ask my questions so planning can deal with it tomorrow?
After the meeting, you can do whatever you'd like.
I just want to ask him if he wants a lesser amount or no amount.
Okay. But does this come before the planning tomorrow, Beverly?
I would just like to say that we did not do anything for planning for setbacks, for front setbacks. This is only the corners. It was a weird corner thing that we were just asking to take it out. We did not change any setbacks for your front or your sides.
I understand that.
I have a question.
Yes.
When someone calls point of order, what is the proper thing to have happen at that point?
State his point of order.
And then?
And then I address the point of order.
And so you can say conversation can go on? Is that?
If I find the point of order is not valid, it's not pertinent.
Okay, and so you would actually say that you don't find the
That
point
would be
of
part
order?
of the procedure, yes.
Okay, thank you. That was my understanding. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Okay. That's it. We move on to number 2 under new business. Number 1 we've taken off the agenda. Next will be discussion new business license category for tour vehicles with food. Motion to discuss.
Second.
Floor is open. Yes.
Well, I thought this was going to be a slam dunk until the planning chair brought forward. Beverly, do you have that handy? Might I ask the chair to address the council regarding food vendors?
Beverly.
I'm sorry, I saw this on your agenda, and I just know that in section 4.4801, it talks about that you cannot engage in the act of doing business from open air or vehicle or anything. And so the 2 people that had put it on this agenda, Mr. DeVito and Mr. Purkeypile, I just sent it to them. Mr. Purkeypile said it's not pertinent to this discussion. But it was just information I was sending you.
Mr. DeVito.
Might I ask the city attorney to look at that?
Okay, while he's looking at it, Mr. Purkeypile, you had your hand up next.
Yes, in addressing planning chairs, bringing that to light to both of us since we brought it up, there is actually no food being sold
out of a moving vehicle. These are pre-booked, pre-planned, much like the tours are, much like your carriage rides are, Tom. So these are, but you are serving food, but they're prearranged. You don't cook it.
The meals are catered on board.
They're catered, so they come on board. You book them in advance, so it's not like you're standing on the road with an open
If I'm allowed,
taco stand or something.
yeah, if I'm allowed, somebody reminded me down in Texas they have what they call roach wagons, which are the trucks that pull up on the side of the road and sell stuff out the window.
Hey.
That's, well, I'm just saying that's a common term for it down there. That's not what we're doing. We're not selling food out of it. We are going to a restaurant where meals have been prearranged and they are catered onto, and then we drive around in a circle while they eat their dinner. So we're not even actually selling the food. We're selling the trip, and the food comes with it, but it's pre-purchased ahead of time from a restaurant here in town.
From reservations
Yes,
in advance.
yes, way in advance.
So this is a lot like the train,
Wait,
only it's
wait,
on
wait,
four
wait, wait,
wheels.
Sorry.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought you did,
here.
I'm sorry.
No. Now go ahead.
Okay, so it's like the train meals, except it's in a trolley.
Exactly. This is the first time this has been done anywhere in the United States. Unlike the train that's on a fixed route, we can basically go anywhere within reason. We've been in intense negotiations with the transit director, making sure that we're going where we need to be at the times we need to be there so that we're not causing problems with their current routes. We're basically going to copy the same route that the tram takes at the same speed. We'll have two-way communications with the trolley drivers so that they know where we are and we know where they are, and we're not causing any confusion with anybody. But the point is, what I'm looking for is a 199, and I know you guys hate that number. You're going to loathe that number till your day you die. But that 199 business license, I feel, was created just for a situation like mine because we don't sell food. We're not a restaurant. We're not doing group step-on tours. That's not what we do. We don't fit any one particular category. We don't fit any category.
Mr. McClung.
Yeah, I can't imagine why we need to have a license for a sack lunch or picnic. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
It'd be the same
why.
as if
Well, yeah, well, I mean,
tour bus come in and
people can bring their food on. I don't. Why can't he do it without anything? He's buying the meal from, it's coming from a purveyor or a restaurant, a facility that's approved by the health department. Who cares?
Mr. Mitchell.
I totally agree with Councilman McClung on that. It makes no sense if the people riding the carriage negotiate the meal with the restaurant and bring it onto the carriage to eat it. Who cares? I mean, are we going to be in the limousines next, wondering who's popped a beer? I mean, come on.
Well, so my question is, what business license do I need to ask for? Because nobody seems to know.
Clerk.
This subject is coming to the table as a courtesy to council. It is the clerk's responsibility to help someone define the most appropriate category for a license. Strictly as a courtesy to you, there is a step-on tour category that could be used. To me, that is the most appropriate one. The fee is $50. It is, excuse me, let me say this again very clearly. It is the clerk's job, not planning's job, to work with people on licenses. And next time a situation like this arises, it will be handled differently.
Ms. Schneider.
I don't think we need a motion if we do say so. I would just like to see us give a yes or no to save a lot of hassles in the future if anybody should get their nose crimped again and say, let's go for a 199. Maybe after a year, if it's really successful, we can give a license, or if somebody else comes in and wants to do it too.
Mr. Mitchell.
A question for Madam Clerk. What license would you have given if without referring it to us, what license would you have just gone ahead and given him, or would
Tours.
you? Ma'am?
Tours.
Tours, okay. Then,
And it is nothing even remotely like vending.
got it. Okay. All right.
And this incredible, okay, I'm setting it
Yeah,
down.
please stop. Would.
Well, I agree with our city clerk and Alderman McClung. I don't think it probably even needs to come to the table. We appreciate you doing it. I think it's innovative myself.
I'm trying to bring something new to Eureka.
Yeah, but with the proper business license, and that, and you indicated would be the step-on tour, and I know personally that Mr. Tharp gives a really good tour. So,
Let me make, there are two kinds of tours, step-on tours. The one that the transit system uses and the kind that the lady who drives around in the white van uses. So it would not be the license that is under the auspices of transit. It would be the other one, just to be clear.
Ms. Schneider, you had your hand up.
Are those, I can't remember, are those franchised? Or that was, it had been talked about, okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Come on.
Now, if I understand this correctly, you're going to be doing this just out of your wagon, just as you haul people around, right?
We bought one of the old out-of-service city trolleys, and we've reconditioned the inside with dining room tables.
That's what it's going to be.
In the
It's-
carriage.
Nobody explained that to me.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought it was the
I thought you were just
carriage.
doing it out of your carriage.
No, but it's the same concept. It's just we're doing it on a trolley
Oh, that's something different altogether.
instead of.
Why didn't somebody say that?
I'm sorry.
Well, you're the carriage guy.
I know, I'm trying to branch
that's
out.
what we get for assuming. Sorry.
Yeah.
My question would be, are you going to paint the trolley a different color?
It's got substantially different lettering on it, and if the color becomes a problem, what we're doing right now is a vehicle wrap process. So if the color becomes a problem, we can vehicle wrap it any color anybody wants.
That'll work.
If it needs to be red or blue or purple, we can do that.
Mr. Mitchell, go ahead.
That brings a whole new question in. I think I need a little more clarification here. I was under the impression, which is wrong, and I assumed, and we all know what happens when you do that, that's for sure, because obviously it's just happened. I thought you were getting meals delivered to the carriage. People were going to be riding around in the carriage, which I thought was unusual. But now you actually have bought an out-of-service trolley that is going around the historic loop or the city somewhere. With how many passengers on it?
12 total. There are
12
two
total.
top tables.
And under what license are you operating this trolley? The tour?
That's what we're trying
That's
to figure
why
out.
you said tour.
Yeah. Because it's a motorized vehicle.
light bulb goes off.
Fine.
Are you the only two that didn't know about this?
I was totally lost.
Are you done,
so-
Mr. Mitchell? Mr. McClung?
Yes, sir.
Are you going to be like having waiters and serving the food? Is that what you're doing? Or?
Basically, say if we go and contract with DeVito's or whatever restaurant or local flavor, we call them an hour ahead of time with an order for 12 plates of whatever variety. We pull up to the front door. Their staff steps on, drops off the tables, their staff leaves, and then we take off and go. We will have one employee on board to refresh tea and water, and that's all they're doing.
So they will actually step on and serve.
The restaurant employees will just step on and say, here's your plate, thank you, and then they'll leave. And then
Whoa, that means a tip.
it's entirely possible.
It better.
Anybody else? Ms. Zeller?
Well, this is just a tour with an additional amenity. I don't see why it needs a license or anything. It's just a tour, and they're serving.
It needs
That
Tours-
license.
tours have to-
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
fine if
See,
that's what it
problem
needs.
here.
That's great.
Totally missed that.
I'm sure it doesn't need a restaurant license.
No, it doesn't.
No, he's not cooking.
Once it's offsite, you
Any other
can
questions?
do whatever
from
you
the-
want with it.
Any further discussion? Okay. So all he's got to do is get his license and go to work. Okay. That moves us on to agenda setting. Mr. DeVito.
Nothing here.
Mr. McClung.
Nah.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, I'd like to have somewhat of a discussion about the downtown scaping, city scaping,
Landscaping?
maintenance, landscaping, weed control, trash control, something along that line.
Okay, so basic maintenance.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll second. I'm old.
How do you want to title this? Yeah.
Are you the second? Is that
Yes.
what I heard? Okay.
Sorry, yes.
Anybody else?
Yes.
So you got a second to get on the agenda? Did you? Who was the second?
Vicki.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'd like to have an item to discuss Black Bass Lake Dam again. Give you-
Hey, what happened?
Well, I have some comments at the end here, but we should be further along, and I'd like to have that agenda item to discuss
Okay.
things.
Ms. Schneider,
Second.
is there a second on Mr.
Second.
Purkeypile?
Second, yeah.
Ms. Schneider?
I just wanted to make sure, because I have gotten thoroughly lost, the 80 Mountain and the C3, those are automatically on next week. for next
Automatically
meeting,
going
right?
on. They're
Okay.
postponed.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing else? Ms. Zeller?
No.
Council comments, Mr. DeVito.
I would like to thank the CAPC and who was ever responsible for bringing Brewer and Shipley to Basin Park on a Saturday afternoon for a wonderful concert, and probably one of the biggest crowds I've seen in the park in a long time. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And I want to remind everybody that the Blues Festival's coming up starting Thursday night. I think there's over 40 acts at various venues around town. It's always a great time for the city. It's always great to hear music in the air. I encourage everybody to get out and see the bands. We got some great ones coming up, and thank Charles Ragsdale for doing all the hard work on putting on another blues festival.
Mr. McClung.
No, thank you.
Mr. Mitchell.
Nothing.
Mr. Purkeypile.
Yes, I'd just like to give you a brief update of what we're trying to do with Black Bass Lake Dam. We're in the process of starting 2 websites. Well, actually, one website. It's going to be blackbassdam.org and .com. What we're trying to do is we're organizing, trying to put some information out there first, photographs, maybe even a brief video, and then we'd like to use that to solicit donations from fundraiser sites like Indiegogo or Kickstarter.com. So our intention here is to raise private funding, raise awareness of Black Bass Lake Dam, the lake and its environs, and the trail system around there, and the beautiful nature. It's a really nice, serene location to go visit. That's all. I will say that I will by our next meeting we should have something in place and probably a website to go to.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Schneider.
I would like to extend my congratulations to Pack Rat Paradise. June 2nd, they celebrated 35 years of being open. And for us long-timers, that used to be an old auto shop type thing. And back in the day when we had to get all of our vehicles inspected and stuff, that's where we would take it. It's right across the street. I don't know if y'all have ever been in Pack Rat Paradise, but it's a really neat little place. And if you knew it before and see it now, it's wow. Those are big congratulations. I would also like to congratulate the class of 93, 1993, 20th anniversary reunion this coming Saturday. Congratulations, you guys. You did good. That's it.
Ms. Zeller?
No, I haven't.
All right, thank you. I have a couple of comments here. One to let you know that this week we're having the Blue Knights International Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club coming to Eureka Springs. And as I said, it's international, so just the states represented in the 2 conferences, it's a joint conference, will be Missouri, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and we've got 4 different countries being represented. It'll be Canada, Mexico, New South Wales, Australia, possibly one and or two from Europe, maybe Britain and or Germany. So we're having and this doesn't count everybody else that's coming riding in from the different states. So we're probably going to wind up having 400 to 500 here. So, and all these guys are active and retired police officers and their families. So, starting Thursday. So, a lot of the businesses are tickled that everybody's coming in. We've got some good donations, and I appreciate everybody that has donated everything. Moving on to events, it'll be the 13th through the 15th of this month, a local carnival at Pine Mountain Village. The 13th through the 16th will be Blues Weekend. On the 16th, Opera in the Ozarks at the auditorium. It'll be a matinee. I don't have a time on it. 21st will be Opera in the Ozarks. Season starts at Opera of the Ozarks out on Inspiration Point. 22nd and 23rd will be Operational Renewal Benefit Ride, and that'll be for families of officers, soldiers that are deployed overseas right now. So everybody sponsor that one. That's all I have. Does anybody else have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second. Yeah.
All in favor, say
Yep.
aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
I'm opposed.
You're over.